Alright, Sunday meeting number 7. Woo. Okay, so we have less than 3 weeks into channel view. We're 2 weekends or 3 weekends from channel view. So, gasp, exclamation mark. Yeah. Oh, okay, attendance I'll do after. Agenda, we're gonna have the usual stuff. Lamar is usually the same, except they have the Samuel and Guillermo are gonna do the open lines show on Tuesday at 7:40 p.m. And then for West Side we have Monday off, so we're not gonna meet then. Oh, and then Sunday practice at Pearland at Paradox's place. Schedule. So the Vex has a state champs in not so long. Of course, this is like week 2 channel views is our like really big thing. Gonna highlight that. So yeah, that's really important right there. And then right after channel view, we have spring break where we're gonna have just a bunch of driver practice. It's gonna be the main idea. And then not so long after that, we have Pasadena on at on week 4, in the 23rd to 25th. Okay, school review. Oh, this is just we're gonna skip over that. School updates. We have the superstructure for our metal superstructure at Lamar. It's going pretty good there. Both sides have been built. Yeah, we're just ready to put it on the drivetrain basically. So I'm working on the intake. I saw some updates. He was working on it. He's made us another revision, I think, from what I saw.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kyle and Adrian probably do more vision stuff. Sid is finishing up the master CAD for V1. We're like on the cusp of finishing. The arm structure, I'll finish that. And then Carnegie has taken the swerve this week. Okay, so some build schedule goals. That's next Saturday. We'll have a drivetrain test with all the electronics in, and a fully complete Everybot arm. The Sunday we'll be at Pearland for practicing. We did West Side did that last year, a lot. So it's a big place. They have a whole field set up there. I assume there are gonna be other teams there too, so we can scrimmage. Maybe. Saturday after that, hopefully we'll have a fully functional robot, and Sunday more practice time. More roles. Anybody have any updates on their non-robot role? I know the Impact Award was submitted last Thursday, right? And I think that's pretty much it.
The Woody Flowers essay has been submitted.
Okay.
And for procurement, I think there's not much else that we need to get at the moment. I know shirts are going to be ordered too.
Shirts have been ordered. We're going to order more stuff. Hoodies, banners, hats, polos. We got a lot of stuff to order. But I think the design is going to be pretty similar. So Aya has already sent me some things, and we'll send out proofs so everyone can see what it will look like. But yeah, we'll have lots of cool team gear this year.
Woohoo. We're gonna look great. Okay, so some build update from me. So our prototype is done. Actually, let me put it here. I'll change the crap. Change the screen to this one. We will look. We have our whole our dummy swerve drive chassis has come in. uh, has been very effective, and we've pretty much built a fully functional prototype out of wood, and we've tested it. So it does reach the top um, scoring area for both cubes and cones. So that's good. The arm, we're still figuring out the hard stop. That's just kind of weird to figure out. Probably, but I feel like that's not a super big deal. Um, Otherwise, though, I think it's at least the geometry works. We know that works now. And then we've started producing the superstructure for the for our V1. So all the metal superstructure has been cut. But yeah. Oh yeah, for the prototype, the arm when it's in so it still sits out of frame perimeter. So we're gonna move it. We're gonna change the drivetrain. I think is our consensus. That leads in well to Sid.
Okay, so this it's a pretty big change, changing the drivetrain dimensions, but it also presents a great opportunity for us to clean up our CAD because that is kind of a mess at the moment. And so at the moment, I've been working on here. Let me just share my screen. I've been working on the drivetrain with Greg. We have our 2-part belly pan. We're planning on doing steel, quarter-inch steel, and then adding in extra 1/8-inch steel if we have extra weight, and that can be removable. We've kind of laid out our electronics, and some of the people at Westside catted up this swerve module electronics holder. And they've been 3D printing those. We still have to figure out something else for this side because the battery would interfere with that. But on the bright side, that's done. Like Greg said, we're still cleaning up our CAD. So we'll be adding the superstructure to this. But the especially nice thing is we have all of our drive rails made cleaner, so it's faster to load on other computers that aren't able to like process as fast.
In that same vein, I recommend making some models of the Rio and the PDH that are just blocks, so everything keeps loading. Because I know electronics parts are going to slow things way down if you start using the high fidelity stuff.
All right, I think that should be a pretty quick change that we can do.
Okay. The idea here, at least for me, for making this, the new CAD thing was basically have it build it out as like the same as we have it right now. So, for example, before on our old CAD, it was made out of max tube, right? But the superstructure we made was out of normal 1/16 tubing. So the idea was, I'm gonna make it as accurate as possible to what we have built, I guess. Is the idea. Yeah. It's a little bit of work to do. I think we have tomorrow off, Sid.
Yeah, so we'll be probably putting an update out for the CAD tomorrow afternoonish.
Yeah, since we have Monday off, I think grinding this thing into mostly complete is really important. So when we start cutting things, we feel really confident that we're not going to make a mistake because we've already kind of thought about the ground intake, the Everybot arm, all the pieces, like full CAD, as full as we can get. So.
Yeah. One thing I will say about that is we've done some stuff about the intake, and I think that leads into Sawmill and Guillermo pretty well.
I don't think Samuel. Do you want to talk or?
Yeah, I can.
Let's go.
Excellent. So I'm going to hold on. Let me finish loading this. What's it called? Google Meet, because it's about to share my screen. Let me know when you can see it.
Okay.
Okay, I think I just lost my privilege to share. It's
Uh,
gray.
you should have it.
I got it back. I got it back.
Okay, okay.
Nice. Okay. Let me know when you can see the CAD software. Is it visible?
No.
Not yet.
Oh. Uh, Let me restart that. Okay.
I think
Yeah,
it's
no, this
loaded.
share screen is great.
Oh, you're presenting now.
Oh, very nice. Okay, that is good then. So, right, do you see the one like is colorful? It's like gray and red and orange.
Yes. There we go.
Like, do you see my mouse moving?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So on the Saturday, we were able to laser cut this part over here, and also like on Friday and Saturday, we were able to create some rough draft of these linkage points to put on it on the robot. And the good news is that when we tested the linkage itself, it works quite good. It goes down to the floor, and then when you move it back up, then it will go back behind the frame perimeter, and it will be in size limit. So that's great. And also like a what's it called, one of the notes is that Siddharth was talking about how the drive base has to be increased in the size, and luckily that our ground intake should not be affected much by it, because if they increase it by 2 inches, the way the geometry is right now is that it doesn't rely on anything else to the robot, so everything can just be shifted 2 inches without any problem. And that's one of the good news is. Now, this did have a few problems. Firstly, like this joint was a bit too close to this line. So whenever there was a bit of load on it, it seemed kind of bad. And then also this bearing place, because I don't know if you recall from way back, but when I was presenting like the first drafts of the intake, I was mentioning about how a good bottom roller is one of the keys to picking up a cone. And to bring this down, it was touching too close to here. So, like, even though it was a wood prototype and wood is kind of weak, it's still cracked and it still has a bit of worry and consequence, right? So, like, perhaps on a plastic, it would work better when we cut that out, but there are a few other solutions that we found. So this one is like a more finalized version of it. Firstly, I was able to like what's it called? I was able to find a solution which is inspired by one of our previous Disco Bots robot, where if you just take a small Omni wheel, you can put it on the outside of this, and then it will just be free spinning there. But the good part about it is that the intake's edge won't take the load, and instead there'll be an Omni wheel that's on this shaft taking the load. And you just drill a circular hole through it so that it's free spinning on the shaft, and it does not have an effect on the actual intaking. That's one of the things. Nextly, the sketch geometry was slightly changed with all these so that there could be more distance between the actual joint and this, and same for the back. So you can see it now looks very sleek, elegant, and futuristic. This one also looked kind of good, but I think the other one looks better. And then nextly, we were also thinking that since this intake is going to get beaten up so much by ourselves and by the other team, uh, we should probably make at least a few versions of this. And by making multiple versions, that means at least two, we would get a chance to experiment a little bit between one and two. One of them could be like the reliable basic version, and the other one could have different more features like more compliance, more rigidity, or even a launcher. So that's why you might be able to look that on this intake, there's the extra feature of this type of hump. So over here, I'm able to put some churros along the width of it so that I can make it more stable. Because of course I cannot put any structural stuff here because that's where the cube goes. and I cannot put it here because this is where the bumper would be. So up here we have a lot of space actually. If you look in the Everybot, that volume is currently not being used by anything. So we have a lot of room to build up. Like I know Sam messaged me yesterday about some kind of launching things that he saw from other teams, which is pretty cool idea that we can try to implement also because we are lucky to have that space that we can build upon. Other than that, like the rest of the linkage geometry is staying the same, and hopefully it works ever better. Is there any questions about the ground intake or any other stuff?
Uh, so the doesn't the wheels need have to be counter rotating, right? For the intaking. Am I getting that right? Or
The wheels on the bar, like the actual intaking wheels, the
yeah, the
flex
actual
wheels, or
like
the ones
the,
that
the
would hit?
ones that spin with the axle.
Correct. Yes, those rotate counter to each other. And so the solution for that we found is that, let's say the motor was mounted over here. What you would do is that motor would be directly chained to this, and it would be geared to that. What's the effect of it? Well, when two gears spin, when they're contacting each other, two gears spin in opposite directions. So if the motor over here was spinning clockwise, this would spin counterclockwise. And then since the motor is chained to this would also spin clockwise. This is clockwise, this is counterclockwise, and therefore we achieve opposite motion with the least amount of moving parts because that's the simplest way to do it. One gear system and one chain system all run by one motor.
Okay.
I think if you look at the intake for the Everybot, you might have to add a protection plate on where the motor gears are coming out. That's
Mm-hmm.
just basically like a copy to
Yeah, yeah.
protect all those gears. And if there's like a pulley running between there, um, or if we're going to go back to chain, either pulley or chain, you're going to have to think a little bit about that distance because with pulleys you have to be very exact on distances. Chain you have to be pretty close to exact.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Pulleys would be nice. You're gonna have to do some calculations though to get the pulley spacing just right.
Of course. Yes.
Every bot intake is probably a good example of maybe look at some distances there and see what they're using because we know we have some pulleys that work for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there's I think a calculator you can use that'll give you exact teeth. I'll have to go dig around to find it. But you put in a distance and it'll tell you how long of a pulley you'll need to do that
Right.
calculation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
But I would start adding all that detail into your stuff, Sawmill.
Mm-hmm.
So when you make this on the laser cutter, it's gonna have the holes for the motor mount. Um, it's gonna have pretty much all the holes the final version's going to have. So
Yep.
we could quickly even. I think the pulley is a great example of we could throw a bearing in there or a motor and test the pulley distance and say yes, this is perfect straight from the laser cutter, and then start making the real one out of Lexan or whatnot
Mm-hmm.
without wasting a bunch of time. Um, so I think you need to get this as accurate as possible tomorrow. So on Tuesday you're printing it and it's like hopefully really on point that we don't have to do many other iterations, that we can at least make a working version from your laser cut model.
Makes sense.
So if you guys want to, I know Sid's got a lot of work to do. I know you got a lot of work to do. I'm happy to kind of look over screenshots of stuff as you guys progress, but we're going to need to get as detailed as possible by Monday so we can really make substantial progress this week, and not have to go back and keep searching for CAD updates.
Makes sense.
So if you get stuck or you need some help, first I would hand this model you currently have over to Sid so he can throw it into his full CAD
Mm-hmm.
step of this plate and whatever else that you can provide to him. maybe the geometry of your linkage and whatnot. And then you're obviously going to have to just put a lot of time into this. Just these ground intake plates are going to be really complex. The linkage stuff, I think, we'll work on. It's tricky, but yeah, we might want to split up. Greg, what are you working on? Do you want to help Sawmill with this a little bit?
Sure. I mean, I've been uh the since like one I've been making the things that showed with them.
Okay,
So
I think Greg, you might it might be beneficial if you work on the mechanism that lifts this ground intake up and down.
the linkage. Linkage.
He's got the linkage geometry. He needs the physical motor
Oh,
system
where it
that's
should
going
be.
to, yeah, that's going to just lift it up and down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Siddharth currently has this CAD file that I'm showing you right now. All the geometry is the same. Like the only difference is, this shape at the bottom, which shouldn't affect how it goes up and down. So yeah, I mean,
Okay.
that's a cool plan.
Yeah, I think that'll take the load off because Sawmill's got a lot of work to make these plates really accurate and stable, and then somebody can just worry about the motor mechanism that actually lifts it up and down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that works.
I think that'll help him a lot, so he can just focus on the plate itself. Because there's a lot going on there, and we need to get it all in the CAD, and I think that's a big chunk of work. So, any other concerns people have?
If not, let's move on to our next speaker. Cheryl, you said you wanted to talk, right?
Yeah, so about the Surf Drive, I look at the code. I came up with three approach on how to solve this problem. The first one is trying to get the library, the one that we already have, the one that doesn't go in a straight line, getting that to work. And the second approach is completely writing another project. And the third one is trying to get, what's it called? YAGSL, that library to work. I tried three of them. So the first one, let me share my screen. Um, it's loading. Alright. So the first thing, there's a problem because the first problem is that the version is 2022, so it's not compatible with 2023. And when I was trying to get it to build, I believe it was these that's not working. So I did a little research, and it says that uh, they deleted one of the class, so it's not gonna build at all. Uh, and I also tried writing a new project. Like I got it to run on the robot, but I think I still having issues with the smart drive kinematics and stuff, so it doesn't work. So right now I am trying to get the example project from YAGSL library and getting that to work. And this is what their dashboard look like. That's a lot of stuff going on. And this library, they basically wrote everything, and all you have to do is you just have to come here and then type in all your configurations, and they will give you a file, and you can upload it to here, and that should get you ready to all the configuration and stuff. So what we need to do right now is to configure the storage drive on our program and configure the joystick, and I think that should work. So now it's a matter of time to getting to finish. Yeah. I should be able to get it by the end of this week.
Cheryl, if you're building stuff and it's looking like you're ready to just do a lot of testing, I have no problem with you taking the mini swerve home and testing.
I already did.
Oh, you have it with you right now?
Yeah, I tested the yesterday.
Excellent. That's exactly what I think you should be doing. So yeah, I mean, as you make progress and you're getting the values from it,
Mhm.
definitely send updates. And if you somehow manage to get it to drive straight forward and backwards, let's take a video and let's make sure that that code is committed
Okay.
and documented, so we don't so we can make small steps from there, because I think that's where we're at right now, is that we don't have a solid code base that we are certain makes the robot move straight, because I know we have a
Mhm.
video of it moving straight, but I don't know if anybody can recreate the exact code that made it do that. And so we need to really be careful about all the changes that we make as we finally get the robot working. um, and if it's really working well, I talked to Pearland and they invited us to go to their place. So if for some reason you feel like very optimistic tomorrow, um, you could take it to Pearland and you could run it on a full field, but that's a big if. So,
Mhm.
but definitely plan for Sunday. I think no matter what happens, we're going to go to Pearland
Yeah.
and we're going to run it. And if we get really stuck, we're going to just hope that they can help us. Because they are also running Swerve, and I'm sure a few other teams there might be. And we just, even if we're not working, we need to get their help, and see how it goes. So,
Can you send the address of Pearland?
yeah, I'll post all the details on that. But yeah, kind of talk to your parents about Sunday
Okay.
going out there. I think it's going to be a big test for selecting a drive team as well.
Mhm.
So people that can come out on Sunday, that might turn into the drive team, um, because we need people to actually have time on the robot. And we're not going to have, I mean, what we'll probably have, what, 2 weekends at most to really, so and one of them is going to be, I think a lot of people are going to be doing Vex stuff, but if we somehow get a practice session on the Sunday after the Vex stuff, which would be the 5th or 6th or something like that. Um, yeah, I mean, so we'll have 2 weekends and then we have competition. So we got to really get some people getting used to this. And Swerve is not something that's just easy to drive. It's not intuitive like your Vex robots that you guys have driven. It's going to take some time to get used to. Any other questions about Drive Team? We haven't even talked about it much, so I hope you guys are a little worried or concerned about it. I'll just do a rundown just so you guys are familiar. So we have someone who's going to be driving the robot, and this robot might be so simple that one person might be able to drive and do most all the features on it. We might have a secondary operator that will be there to just kind of move arms, maybe move the ground intake, and help if something isn't working right. They can have all the controls on a separate joystick and reset things if the driver can't do it all themselves. And then the third person, um, will be kind of the strategy person. It might be an adult coach to start off with, just so we uh, help go through whatever robot issues we could have. And then there'll be a human player on the drive team that's going to have to make sure they know what to do with the cones and the cubes to feed them into the system. Um, that's typically how we do it. We'll have like a primary team, and then we'll have alternates that are just familiar and could take over if somebody gets sick or somebody gets injured. Um, so we'll have at least um, two primary drivers that are familiar with how to run the robot, and two backups that can jump in there at a moment's notice and help out. Um, one of those drivers needs to be familiar with code, because what we've noticed is programming, especially now, is so important that if someone doesn't have a good understanding of how the program works, it's going to be really hard to relay that message to the programmers so we can make fixes in the code to what the drivers need. So that's kind of the requirement, is that everyone should be somewhat familiar with what the code is. You don't have to write it all, but if someone's just intuitively really good at driving, well, we can make them the main driver. We'll have to see how many people we have that can even get time to do that. But that's typically what we've done in the past. Any questions about that process or concerns? Okay. Yeah, we got a lot of work to do, guys. It's going to be an interesting week. I think we definitely need to meet Friday, like we've been doing this past week. That was very productive. I'm going to leave it up to Westside. We'll talk to them. Maybe they want to come on Thursday too, just to kind of get as much progress on the real robot as we can. Come to Lamar on Thursday. But I'll leave it to Westside to see if they can make that happen, and they'll figure out rides and if that's possible. Any other? Have we got all the field trip stuff for Westside? Have you guys? I mean, the first event is Friday night, so you're not missing any school. The second event is Thursday night and then Friday during the day. So hopefully you guys have started the field trip process so you can miss Friday during the day on the second event.
All field trips have been submitted. I'm just waiting for approval from the administration.
Okay. And it doesn't hurt to look at the state championship event and fill out the paperwork for that, just in case we qualify. We qualified last year. There's, I would say, at least a 30% chance we should qualify, and it's easier to just have all the paperwork so we're not going to scramble.
I'll work on that this week.
Okay. That one's a little more complicated with the dates. I think there's possibly 2 days of school that we have to miss. So just FYI there.
No problem. Will do.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg, for leading this. Monday, everybody's, I guess, mostly at home. So if you guys have questions or want to do a huddle and talk CAD, just let me know. I do have work, but I can rearrange. I think my kids are home, so I'm not going to be working very effectively. But if we want to do some more virtual sessions to talk ground intake or full CAD or programming, you guys let me know. We can possibly do another screen share and dig into some issues so we can make some progress. I think another big thing is you guys get a lot of your schoolwork done so we can have lots of time over this next week to work robots at these meetings and be productive. Okay. Thanks, guys. Anything else? All right, we'll wrap it up then.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I'll stay for questions if anybody just wants to talk about any issues you're dealing with. But other than that, I think